That's a small story, though. It's small. It's small. I don't need to deal with this small bullshit. You guys don't need this small shit, do you? We need something. We need something meaty. Something huge. This that's funny. This is huge, but because of the cropping on it, it looks like his is huge, which is funny. This is huge, not his is huge, because that's definitely not true. I'm just saying. And even if it was, how would he know? All right, here we go. This is hopefully this isn't too loud.
Give me some good news, will you?
Well, I will.
Okay, so he's got Eric Schmitt on the phone, Missouri Republican, mass shooting Missouri. So I'm sure he's got great news for us.
So Monday, Missouri versus Biden is being argued at the Supreme Court, and it is, as we've talked about before, it's the most important free speech case in the history of the country, certainly in a generation, because it deals with the federal government and its vast censorship enterprise.
Oh my God! Wait, you do like these censorship industrial complex bullshit? Is this dude another Taibbi ball gargler?
Coercing, colluding, cajoling.
Legally, it did none of those things.
These social media giants.
It did none of them. And by the way, you can't. If big tech is smaller than the big government, then what's your argument?
It's your speech. And what the judge found at the lower court, when I filed it when I was Attorney General in Missouri, what the judge found at the lower court was that this was almost exclusively conservatives being censored.
It couldn't be that that's where the crime is. It couldn't be that that's where the racial epithets are. Maybe that's where the fake doctors are. Maybe it's the people. It's almost exclusively you guys sucking this bad. Don't get me wrong. There's some lefties out there who are racist as shit. We've seen them, and they got kicked off too. That's why it's not exclusively.
It reeked of viewpoint discrimination, which violates the First.
It reeked of it. Is that a legal definition? Your Honor, we'd like to charge him with third-degree reeking.
Amendment, and it was Orwellian. I mean, what was uncovered?
Fuck off with the Orwell thing. I'm so sick of the 1984 shit. I gotta say, like, as hack premises go, we just gotta. It's in the fucking title of this video. How the government's Orwellian, and in quotes, all caps, social media censorship campaign could soon be defeated. Okay, first of all, if it's Orwellian, you can't defeat it. It's insurmountable. That's what the 1984 shit was about. It's insurmountable. We're going to fight back against the FBI letting Twitter know that some of their accounts are coming from an IP address in Macedonia that's run by a Russian hacker farm that breaks into hospitals and shuts down the electrical system in them. Well, we're going to horrifyingly, authoritatively let them know and say, could you please get rid of these? They're fake. And they may say no.
Glenn, we're tens of thousands.
It's like fucking nobody's. Our problem isn't Big Brother, you dumb son of a bitch. Not in the United States. Our problem is Little Brother. Digital tattletale. Everybody with their fucking phones out all the time.
Of pages of emails and text messages from high-ranking government officials to social media giants saying, take it down, or we're going to launch an investigation, or we're going to, we're going to.
Is that what it said? Because that's not what it said.
Sue you under antitrust issues. I mean, really.
No, they didn't. Get the fuck out of here. Trump was threatening Facebook and stuff for their support of like most of the shit, by the way, for the record, most of the shit from the Missouri case happened under Trump or was in place around like vaccine denial and that kind of shit that was put in place under Trump. The majority of the hits, the emails they're talking about happened under Trump. And a good portion of it where he's like threatening with antitrust violations was Trump attacking fucking Facebook because he wanted to get credit initially. Remember, he wanted to get credit for the vaccine. Now he's trying to distance himself from it. And now they want to lay this on Biden.
The full power of the federal government was being used to suppress.
No, it wasn't. Oh my God, you fucking lazy tool. The full power of the federal government. Do you have any idea what the full power of the federal government involves or what it's capable of? The full, listen to you, I mean, God damn, this is annoying. The full power of the federal government, motherfucker, they got predator drones. We have a spy matrix, both inside and outside the United States, dealing with domestic and foreign attacks that are thwarted all the fucking time. We don't use them, but we know how to use every tool the Russian does, and we have access to all those toxins. Full force. Shut the fuck up. They asked, and Twitter turned them down on multiple occasions. If they can turn you down, it isn't suppression. If Twitter could say no, it's not censorship. And they said no multiple times.
Sent to silence Americans.
No. Also, that's the other part. This assumption that we're only Americans on that there are only Americans on all these giant social media platforms. Does this motherfucker think everybody on Twitter is an American? Does he think everybody worse? Does this asshole think that every person who says they're an American on Twitter is an American? Just take it for granted. Really? This is your representative, Missouri. This is the guy. So, can you imagine someone more gullible during the Cold War to be approached than Senator Eric Schmitt, Armo?
And so that's been shown in the case, and so that now...
No, it has not.
It's been appealed by the government. They want to continue to censor people, and the Supreme Court's going to hear oral arguments on that on Monday.
And how do you think it's going to go?
I'm hopeful. I just think...
Yeah. And how many people... Oh, sorry. Hold on one second.
In 2020, the population of Missouri was 6,160,281.
Yeah. So Missouri, a state with fewer people than Los Angeles County, I'll give them the outlying area, has 2 senators and a bunch of federal judges, all of them right-leaning or right-wing, appointed, a bunch of Trump appointees and the like, that have nothing better to do because they certainly are not busy making lives better for the people of Missouri. Dicking around, sending these cases up to effectively real judges on the Supreme Court. It's nonsense.
The case is a lot of it will come down to what was the government actually doing.
Sure. And who was president at the time? Do you remember?
And were they, in fact, coercing, right?
Sure. Yes. Also, what's coercion? Trump's threats?
They're using the power of the federal government to get these social media giants to do the things that they can't legally do themselves. What makes this case unique is typically social media companies are sued by people who've been deplatformed or their posts have been taken down, and those go to the Northern District of California, and they're never to be seen again. But
right, because they're fucking ridiculous. That's where they show up and they go, here's our terms of service. That person clicked yes. That's how it works. It's a private company, dum-dum. It's not a goddamn public park.
What's unique in our case is that we've sued the federal government itself and the actors like Jen Psaki and Anthony Fauci. I had a chance to take Anthony Fauci's deposition, took Elvis Chan's deposition, who was... Yeah,
by the way, other like Jen Psaki, how the fuck did Jen Psaki put the fear of God in Twitter? Is that what he considers the full force of the federal fucking government?
Of course, the FBI agent in charge, who was pre-bunking the Hunter Biden laptop story, calling it Russian disinformation, a hack.
Which it is.
And leak operation,
which it is.
Even though they had the laptop already.
No, they didn't. No. They have a prop laptop allegedly dropped off. None of the contents of it are on that laptop. The contents of the stuff they get from a hard drive, the same hard drive that they were passing around amongst Rudy Giuliani's friends, right? And then suddenly that one's got a lot more fucking footage and pictures and files on it.
They were pre-bunking this, getting ready for 2020.
No, they weren't pre-bunking it. They were giving a legit warning. There's something coming. We're hearing the chatter. This is coming around. If it was real, you wouldn't have fucking Smirnoff wouldn't be going to jail.
The COVID, the
COVID
efficacy of masks. They were suppressing that speech. Vaccine issue.
They were suppressing the efficacy of masks speech. Okay, first of all, during Trump. Secondly, what he's talking about is a statement by Fauci from years before, where he said, that when you're talking about masks as a functional way of stopping the spread of diseases, it's not, like coronaviruses, mainly because people touch everything, they touch their fingers on stuff, and they touch their eyes. That won't sufficiently do it. And of course, he's talking about a regular flu season at that time. Later on, they would study that I think it was in June of 2020, they did one of the most comprehensive studies about masks, and it turned out it does slow the spread. And in a lot of cases, it lowers the amount of virus you're exposed to when you are, so your body isn't overwhelmed with a huge dose of the shit.
Choose origins of COVID, where they were shutting anybody down who talked about this coming from the lab. And
no, they weren't. First of all, nobody, especially at that time, and this is also during Trump, nobody knew it came from the lab specifically. There were rumors about it. There were whispers of it. The assumption was that it came from there. That's where the story was rolling from. None of these assholes were talking about it knew where it came from. So their assertions largely were stacked on top of racism. And again, calling it the China virus or the Chinese virus or whatever, that was the difficulty. And post 9/11, one of the lessons we learned in the United States is that when you start associating a racial group or a religious group or a nationality with a particular bad circumstance that happened, a disaster, a terrorist act, something like that, there tends to be a blowback within your own country where these people get harmed. Innocent human beings of that nationality and elsewhere. And we saw this in the rise of attacks on Asian people across the country that was directly related to it. That was the reason why. Also, Twitter and them can do whatever the fuck they want.
Wuhan. And so all that's uncovered in this lawsuit. And if it wasn't for this lawsuit, Glenn, and then later Elon Musk buying Twitter with the Twitter files, and then later some of the congressional.
Yeah, by the way, Twitter files, dud and dumb. Are you going to cover in your lawsuit the thing where Elon Musk and Matt Taibbi get into a pissing match and he kicks him off the platform and won't let him spread his stuff on? You're going to put that part in? Because isn't that suppression? Once he didn't like what Matt Taibbi was doing, he deplatformed him for financial reasons, by the way, it seems, because of, I guess, his Substack stuff.
Hearings. This stuff would still be in the...
Which would that be a violation of antitrust laws? Because it's specific. You could certainly post shit on Facebook or Meta, right? Instagram and other places.
Dark. It would still be a conspiracy theory, but it was happening. And what we refer to it in the lawsuit is a vast censorship enterprise.
Under Trump.
Number of agencies and people involved here is breathtaking. And the, sometimes willing behavior of social media companies to comply and
I mean, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, if I could present to you a situation where a man steps on his own rake so poetically.
And the, sometimes willing behavior of social media companies.
The vast conspiracy of the sometimes willing behavior. That would be the time, that will be the time when they agreed with the FBI, and the time they weren't willing, they just didn't do it. And again, you do not have coercion if the person has choice. There is no such thing as consent to coercion. The moment of consent eliminates the possibility of coercion. Fucking stupid. God.
to comply.
Please, God, let them have these oral arguments. At least let me hear them when they do them online.
And deplatform and censor people. But in some instances, they actually didn't want to do it.
Right.
And they changed their rules. So
That's why.
What do you mean they changed their rules? No, they didn't. Sometimes they listen to, hey, we think that's real. Or sometimes, no, our stuff is telling us that is okay. Also, by the way, the vast majority of the interaction between the federal government and Facebook and any of the social media companies, including Twitter, is to let them know about sex trafficking, drug trafficking, violence, like home invasions that are live streamed, shit like that. The moments that happen, they get word from a local police force, or they get something that's coming in from another country, and they're like, hey, just to let you know, they're live streaming this now. Like ISIS is going to live stream this on like 6 accounts. You might want to know that. And they shut them down because that's actually what 90% of what they're doing online in interaction with these companies is.
What I wanted to ask you about, how much of this do you think was willing, and how much of it was fear of the government?
And did that fear change after Biden came in?
Both. So, yeah, I mean, these social media platforms typically were very aligned with the left. I think
Right.
in many
So why would you have to coerce them if they're already on the team?
instances, Facebook, for example, after 2016 and Donald Trump won, they made it clear publicly they were never going to let that happen again.
Yeah, I remember that. Remember when Facebook said, we're never going to let Donald Trump get reelected as a company? That's definitely that we're making a public statement. No, they didn't. Not in any measure. What? No, it never happened. Like, if you want to talk about fake news and lying overtly, that's what that just was.
Right? They were never going to let that happen again. And so I think some of this was...
What are you laughing about, fuckhead? They didn't say anything like that. They didn't do anything like that.
Overtly political on their part, and they were willing participants. But there are documents that were uncovered where they were pushing back. It is not, it didn't violate their terms of service. And as one judge said in one of the previous arguments, that's a nice social media company you have there, right? It'd be a shame if something happened to it. Almost like a mob boss.
Oh, yeah, that is a mob.
Coming from the government.
That is.
Wait a minute. Remember when Trump went after Schmitt? Schmitt, listen to me. I'm trying to read and speak at the same time. Adam Schiff. When he went after Adam Schiff, and he was like, Adam Schiff, like, made me sound like a mob boss, and he lied into the congressional record, right? Because he paraphrased what Trump was saying.
In one of the previous arguments, that's as one judge said in one of the previous arguments, that's a nice social media company you have there, right? It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Yes, a Trump appointee was making the inference. He was helping your side of the argument. This is why it's going to fail when you get it up to the Supreme Court, because it's fucking dumb. Secondly, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks, and on we go. And by the way, thanks for the likes and the bits, and you can help people by giving memberships and subscriptions and gifting them and all the things. All right.
Almost like a mob boss.
Oh, yeah, that is a mob.
Coming from the government.
Oh, yeah, it's totally like a mob boss. That's exactly. I mean, they didn't say that, and that's a Trump appointee who hates Facebook because he blames him for Trump not getting reelected and not his shit policies and being a dickhead. Excellent.
That is.
Yeah.
Mob.
So this is again the all the power that the federal government has, exerting that on these social media companies to do what they can't legally do themselves, which is to censor. And so this case is it's hard. From
what I hear, and I don't know if you're hearing the same thing, but what I'm hearing from Eric Schmitt and Glenn Beck and Stu, because silence is acceptance, is that they are sick and tired of the federal government trying to stop child porn. This is overreach by the federal government, and by telling people what they can and cannot buy, film, watch, or obtain, or store, or disseminate. This is a violation of free speech, and that these three guys are sick to death of the government doing stuff in the regular order of business that would put a crimp in those people's eyes. These are Americans, okay? These are Americans.
Me, as somebody who believes deeply in the right to free speech and what
he's a child porn absolutist.
that means for a country, and
if selling meth on Snapchat isn't covered by free speech, is this even America?
freedom. This is, in my view, one of the most important cases in general the court's heard in a very, very long time.
Because it's from your state, and you're trying to put a flag in the ground, dum-dum.
Yeah.
But certainly as it relates to the First Amendment.
How is this going to...
most important, because we're dealing with the virtual town square now, Glenn.
How?
The virtual town square. Okay, first of all, no, we're not. All those places are not paid for with your fucking tax dollars the way the town square is. You fucking commie. I don't get it. I have to say, like, for all of these folks bitching about Marxists and communists and socialists and commie socialists, Marxists everywhere, they talk about private companies digitally online that take up no physical space in your life. None of us have to walk through Facebook to get to the mall, right? They just exist in the digital ether. So it's no fucking... There's so many social media networks that none of us fucking use. They just exist, right? They're just there. We don't use them, but we don't care. And we don't think of, like, Jesus Christ, we should write a traffic law about this. I can't get through here to get to the other one. God damn it. Like, we don't even think about it in those terms because they don't take up any physical space. The town square is literally an area in the city or in the town where you are that is paid for by tax dollars, where everyone's allowed. It's a park. And we don't discriminate based on, your status as long as you're an American or you're visiting or some shit. But that's the idea. These are all private companies on servers they pay for, most of which I would argue are not even in the fucking United States, although a bunch of them are not too far from my house. The Switch, which is one of the companies it's a big company here in Nevada. They have rows and rows of these, like, server buildings. And those guys, like, that's all they do. It's just, that's all your fucking pictures and cloud stuff and all that stuff. That's all stored in these areas. That's it. But I'm not, like, driving around like I should get free web space because I live in this neighborhood and I have to drive around. I have to drive past that place to get further down the road. Like, Jesus.
How is this going to affect the new systems that they're putting in for mis and disinformation, and the government's work with Five Eyes and with,
by the way, that's our intelligence partners,
social media and the rest of the media, where they are just training them and guiding them through mis and disinformation? Will this case have anything to do with that? Because that's a
Glenn, we're almost at the end of Biden's first term. If any of your worries were true, or any of this was anywhere near a possibility, your show would not be on the air anymore. You're getting into Alex Jones territory, dipshit. Again, this is how we know, chat room, and you guys know this. This is how we know that Alex Jones is full of shit. Is because if anything he was saying over the last few years, since he started, if any of it, besides the obvious minor fact base that he uses to draw his bullshit conclusions from, if any of his conclusions about the cabal that's behind the scenes running everything, if any of that was true, there are only two options. If what Alex Jones is saying was true, there's only two possible options. One, if he's still alive, he's working for them. And two, of course, he'd be dead. That's the only way to read this. If anything even remotely close to what this asshole's been talking about, he'd either be dead, or you just have to assume that if it is true, he works for them. Because they wouldn't let him keep doing this shit and exposing their secrets and telling all the truth. Like, they wouldn't let him. They go, okay, now what kind of bullshit am I supposed to feed these dough-headed motherfuckers this week so that they ignore all the stuff you're actually doing? How am I supposed to make them look the other way? Basically, I mean, I don't mind being your fucking dancing girl in your magic show or whatever, but I just need to know exactly when the trick happens. Do I have to do a dance, or do I have to drive around, or that? There's just no fucking way. No fucking way